a time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Tea time.
Oh, welcome to Tea Time. Miss Liz is back. It is evening tea time, and we're all the way in Western Australia tonight with the incredible Paul Marwood. We're going to be talking about self-love, self-care, self-awareness, intuition, manifestation, consciousness. We're going to be talking about it all, and we're going to be serving you a good, strong TEA tonight. We're going to be talking about thoughtful, elevation and altruistic. I think I said it right. If not, I'm going to get Paul to say it. But before we get started, we're going to get you to go over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel. Click the little subscribe button, ring that little doorbell, and you'll be notified for all the tea times that are live and recorded tea times as well. You can find them and listen to them at your own pace and time. So before we get started, we're going to do the disclaimer, a little bit on Paul, and then we're going to get Paul in here and we're going to spill some tea together, and we're going to bring you a tea of love tonight. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith, however, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that the show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, Miss Liz welcomes you. Should you decide that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect that wish, and I will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all Tea Time shows are hosted on Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see it on a Monday or Tuesday, it's a rescheduled Tea Time or a surprise Tea Time with a guest coming that Miss Liz is bringing back. So now let me give you a little bit on Paul. And then I'm going to get Paul in here and I'm going to sip on my tea. Paul Marwood is a co-author of an international #1 bestseller, Soul Love, founder of Solution Meditations, and co-founder of 3 other next generation soul activations. He has been an international teacher and guide of his modalities for over 12 years, living his life through the more unlimited aspects of his heart. His focus is to support conscious leaders, visionaries, and everyday people to live their lives with a great level of soul guidance, find greater peace, and live from his clearer awareness. His vision is to make this consciousness more easily available to everyone by using guided meditation. These rapidly shifts your consciousness and awareness outside the box and transforms your life with the practical solutions and possibilities that your ever thoughts possible. As we experience this more unlimited way of life with greater experiences, we help others to do the same. Paul's personal life passion is a journey of deeper self-love and sharing his inner knowledge and emotions with gentle compassion, having deep conversations with like-minded souls, and ever expanding his consciousness and awareness with the help of his non-physical guides and teachers. His greatest desire is to be loved, give love, and to be the best person he can be. So let me get Paul in here. Welcome, Paul.
Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you, Liz. This is fabulous.
I don't know, man. Every time I go live, my tongue starts to do this. I don't know if it's a nervous twitch or what is going on, but my tongue wants to say the words faster than the mind. So maybe you can help me with that in the future. Uh, so, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for offering and letting me be here with you and your audience. And I'm excited about the conversation, our tea time conversation that we're about to have. And yeah, thoughtful, evolution, and altruistic. Yes, those three infamous words.
Altruistic. See, I didn't have it right. And we talked about it in the back, and I was like,
It's all cool.
we knew I was going to struggle with it. So, Paul, let's get into who you were as a little guy and who you are now.
Me as a little guy, I was always kind of one of these kids that was filled with, energy, kind of bright and bubbly. I actually wore some of my toys out because I just played with them so much. So one of those, they used to, some people used to call me the Energizer Bunny, because I'd be tearing around the place, all the time. Maybe I was born in a vat of red cordial or something like that. We joke about things like that, I think in that part of my life, I was very much into sort of life, school, sports, all that stuff, being the best I could be for my parents, so to speak. And then the Paul now, life is so amazing. It takes, we have twists and turns, and I've had several twists and turns. You could even say in some instances, maybe a few 90-degree right angle turns, Now very much more, sort of 55 years old, a contemplative stage, looking at life in what have I done? How can I do it better? What makes me a better person? How can I be a better person? Being just simply aware of the inner thoughts, aware of myself, aware of my surroundings. And then, also a lot of reading and learning and trying to, work out and have a deeper understanding of myself, the universe, life in general, and enjoying that. So, and as I say, I teach people, help people as my life passion to be in service, and meditation is a part of it. But, I always feel there's this beautiful flow of information, as we all are in life. And, I have my own teachers, physical, non-physical, but also as I gain knowledge, then I can share that with my clients. And so there's this beautiful flow down. One would say that the waterfall isn't vertical in this instance. It's almost flat, the other way. And the information flows down. And as I get information and as I share it, we all go up a level, one would say. So we keep going up as the information goes down. And that's the part that I really love, being able to always be learning, always be improving, and then help others in the same way. So that's the Paul now.
I kind of like the way you said that, Paul, like the straight waterfall.
Yeah.
It's like the flow of energy is a straight flow, right?
It is.
And I can see the waterfall flowing still, but in a different direction.
It's a two-way, because as the information flows down, we flow up because we get better, we learn more, we become better people, and that's a part of us all working, you and I talking today, you and I sharing with other people, it's a co-creation. It's not a singularity. We're not meant to be single. We're not meant to be separate. It's about, this constant flow and sharing, and that to me is what works the best. If you're completely isolated, where are you going to go? How do you flow? Do you know what I mean? But we do need isolation. The most intelligent and biggest changing people on the planet are actually introverts that love that time alone where they can learn and then apply it out in the world.
So Paul, when you sent me your information for Tea Time, you sent me that you were a traveler, like you were born in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And now you're in Western Australia. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your travel? Because that's like a flow as well, right?
Yeah, I guess this is another thing which I'm so excited about. We live on such an incredible planet, and there's such a variety of people, places, cultures, So, I'd encourage any of you out there that haven't traveled, do it. You know, it's one of the best schools you could ever have. You know, we talk about junior school, high school, university, all of that. That's cool. But the real school is the school of life. Go out and experience all the beautiful different pieces of life. So for me, born with British and South African parents, born in Zimbabwe. It was Rhodesia then, but it's Zimbabwe, which is just above South Africa, the southern tip of Africa. In 82, we immigrated to Australia, to a little town in North Queensland called Townsville. Lived there for a while, graduated from university, went down to Sydney, lived in Sydney for a while, didn't like the big smoke, moved across to Perth, loved Perth. Then a change in life happened, and the spiritual awakening really shifted in my life very suddenly, very big spiritual awakening. That completely turned my life upside down, changed things. 6 years later, I'm in the United States of America, Southern California, then northern California, up in the Sierra Nevada ranges, not too far from Lake Tahoe. That was a place I thought I would never live anywhere else. That was like the best place I've ever been in my whole life. I thought I'd be there for the rest of my life, and here I am talking to you in Western Australia. So you never know. And then Australia again, and then back to North Carolina, and then West Virginia, and then back to Australia. So I've been West Coast, East Coast, traveled some of the United States with, in the western side, beautiful Grand Canyon and Bryce Canyon and all of those beautiful natural places there. So yeah, and then of course work and holidays, traveled everywhere else pretty much, in the world. I haven't been Central Africa, but been to Europe and, Copenhagen and Switzerland and Germany and all those places. And so I would encourage each and every one of you to do it. I know in my life I had races or people that I didn't really like or appreciate because I had a judgment. And then as soon as I got to spend time, and when I do that, I then literally force myself to spend time with those people, live their life. And then I understand them so much better. And suddenly all of that frustration or judgment disappears, because then you understand where and what they're coming from, and it's beautiful, because then you get to love and appreciate so much more variety and appreciate for people in their uniqueness. So yeah, that's my travel bit.
I like that you said travel school, because it's the education of learning the different traditions and cultures and environments, temperatures, and a lot of the places that you went to were warm countries. So did you ever go to a cold climate, or was it always the warm climates?
No, that's the Canada part. Yeah. Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, poutine, all that stuff, and it's so funny too. I've never experienced the -40 yet, but I've had some of my friends say, it's pretty cold, and you get like a pot of water or whatever, and you throw it up in the air, and then by the time it hits the bottom ground, it's already frozen. And my brain just doesn't know how to comprehend that. Here in Western Australia, we've had a couple of days of 44 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the audience, which is pretty hot. So I've seen the other side, but haven't seen the -40s.
Yeah, I grew up with the -40s in my hometown. I think the coldest I ever got was -55. And we were wrapped up like mummies, where you would go out and it was instant frostbite. It was like your eyelids were stuck and icicles were already building on the scars because you were breathing. It was instant cold snap. And it was pretty cool, because we used to do that all the time. We used to throw the water in the air and watch the icicles, Jack Frost do his little magic thing and that. So yeah, you got to come and check out Canada there, Paul.
Yeah, that part in the super cold part. I've been to the, as I say, been around, Edmonton, Alberta, all those places, but in the warmer months, not in the colder months.
So you like the warm flow, you don't like the cold flow.
I'm a pretty adventurous person. I'd love to experience everything. I just haven't done that experience yet. So, I'd love to do that, go up in the more northern parts of Canada and just experience that. I've had sort of family, you might say, that have been in the North Pole and working on the up in the caps, and just the life that they had there as part of exploration. And it just, again, the pictures that were sent back, it's just amazing, because you end up with days that are so long, or nights that are so short. Nights that are so long, depending on which season, and it's just super cold. And again, it's beautiful to have that, but more fun to experience it itself. Again, I've done Alaska, but Alaska was done on a cruise ship, and and the weather was lovely weather. So it's a different story. You get isolated a little bit.
Oh, well, I'll have to talk to you about that Alaskan trip, because I'm making a choice, Norway or Alaska for a cruise. So I haven't decided yet. My heritage is Norway, so it might probably be Norway. Paul, we have a question here for you, and it's a little odd question, but I want to ask it for one reason, because I want to know. You live in Western Australia. Are you a surfer?
Actually, the answer to that is no, but in a way, yes. I had a windsurfer. I love windsurfing, and when the windsurfing gets a little bit boring, I come in a little bit and surf the waves with the windsurfer. So you can actually kind of cheat. You have to be careful you don't hurt yourself or break your board and windsurfer, because you've got this big sail. If you bail it on a windsurfer, if you bail it on a surfboard, it doesn't matter. You just go in the water, and that's it. It's no worries. But if you're on a windsurfer, you go over, you can go on your sail and puncture your sail, or everything gets broken and stuff. So you've got to. But the good thing about that, on the flip side, is that you don't have to do all the hard work of paddling. You can kind of surf the wave in, and then use the sail to pull you back out again and surf in. And I used to love jumping the waves as well. So you get as much speed as you can, and you get that point where the waves are not too high or too peaky, and you just ramp off the waves and get a bit airborne, and that's a lot of fun too. So yes, I do that, but not quite the traditional surfer.
This person also brought up that question because they say that traveling through the universe is like surfing.
Yes.
So does that make any sense to you, Paul?
Well, I think the way I would interpret that, with the spiritual work that I've had a lot of out-of-body experiences and multi-dimensional experiences, and done all that sort of things. I have had an experience with a very professional guide with psilocybin as well, just to experience what the difference is. To me, when you're surfing, one would say the universe, what's different is you move at the speed of thought, but it's important you are in the place of flow, which is the same as on the surfing. You get to flow, and you're best moving with the flow. You don't want to fight anything. So in the higher universal surfing, so to speak, it's best to be in a place of ease. You can create and manifest much quicker in that realm. And so if you're in a conflict, you create more resistance. Conflict, if you're in the flow, you create more flow. So yes, and you get to be one on the surfboard with the ocean, and you find a new level of peace, and you can also be one with the universe as you surf the universe. So those are my takes on that question.
I think it's really interesting because we went through like the speed of thought and flow, but when we started the conversation at the beginning of the show, we talked about that flow, right? Of us going like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like the surfboard is going against the wave, like the wave, right? The wind. And it's amazing how some of my listeners bring a conversation to the table that brings it all together, Uh, because that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the intuition and the manifestation and consciousness and the flow and understanding, of the energies and the concept of life, right? And before we went live, Paul, you said live in the moment. We really need to live in the moments. This moment right now is precious. It's a moment we'll never get again.
Correct.
I think that's really telling us a lot about us as individuals,
Hmm.
is that we're not slowing down enough, right?
Yes, especially
So
in modern times.
so when we talked before we did the interview, this tea time, Paul, we talked about the universe and we talked about the connections and how we're so busy in life, right, that we just don't slow down.
Mhm.
So you wrote in this book called Soul Love. So what was your chapter in that book, and how did it slow you down?
Okay, I love it. Well, I'm actually going to kind of give you three answers. You weren't really questions, but there were sort of comments before. Then I'll add to that. So
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of oxymorons in the universe. You talked about the universe, the surfboard pushing on the ocean and stuff. So there's a whole lot of, one would say, oxymorons and contradictions, because in our earth we got to have something to push against because it's physical. So the universe doesn't necessarily work that way. There's still cause and effect, but there's this beautiful connectedness, which means you don't have to push against things. So that's one little piece. It's completely different, one would say, when you're surfing the universe. That you don't need to push against things. You just flow in this beautiful, incredible field of consciousness. Now, coming back to the book piece that you said, the book, my chapter in the book, I talk about an awakening, an awareness of, as this awakening took place within me, the spiritual awakening. It was a car accident which created this awakening. And as the energies opened up and moved through me from the, one would say, chakras, if the audience is familiar with the 7 chakras, there's more than that, by the way, but the 7 ones that most people are familiar with, as it moved up, each chakra has a purpose with emotions and organs of the body. It's a connection between the physical and the non-physical, our auric field, our energy field around us, and our physical body. So one could say it's a portal. They have other usefulnesses, and they're very, very useful, and other purposes as well, related to emotions and everything else. But for my chapter in the book was, and this is the wonderful thing about writing a book, I gained new insight and new awareness as I wrote this, because it explains, as the energy moved up through the chakras, and they have important levels and important purposes. And it was interesting, because all of this experiences over several years in my life happened in the order of the emotions as the energy was rising, which I hadn't really made that connection until I wrote the book. And it's really powerful. We are beautiful multidimensional beings. We are here to have experiences on this planet. We are here to learn and grow. And it's usually the tough times is where we learn and grow the most. And that's where I think it's important to be aware. The more aware we are, the less the universe has to turn the volume up. The universe can give us a few little messages, and we can make some subtle changes in ourselves, before it gets too serious. But if we ignore it, the universe has to tap us, and then it starts to bang us on the shoulder. And eventually, if we're pretty ignorant, it has to get the 4v2 out, and whether it gives us cancer or some car accident or something, it has to give us a good belt across the head so that we listen to that one. So that's this whole thing about being aware. As you can pick up the subtleties of the messages. And as I say in the book piece, it's learning about the different aspects of ourselves, learning how we are, how we integrate. And it was a beautiful journey, and the journey continues as I'm now still working with the higher levels of those chakras to open up to a greater level of awareness of. That's where the solution meditations and the meditations come in, because we can then focus our beautiful. There's a difference between the mind and the brain. They're two different things. The brain is the physical part, the neural networks, etc. The mind is a part of our consciousness, and our consciousness is multidimensional. So, and that's the piece that the book doesn't get quite to, because this is now happening in my life in those higher chakras piece, where I'm learning about that and expanding consciousness and exploring how we can focus this beautiful consciousness that we have to perform incredible tasks. You know, we can solve problems, we can achieve more, we can move beyond our limitations, we can be, you know, when we feel stuck and we don't have the answers, you can start to tap into that part of yourself to get those answers. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, Liz.
Well, Paul, what I got from that, and as I was listening to you, was you were saying if we don't slow down, the universe does come and take that 2x4 and it knocks us and it slows us down. And that's how it slowed you down, was the accident, right? It was like, oh, I wasn't listening. So boom, this had to happen in order for me to slow down.
Correct.
And that's how your story came about, because had you not had that accident, you probably still would be just going like an Energizer bunny, and you wouldn't be slow.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the thing about the book, and this is kind of in general sense for the whole book, because there's 12 authors of this book. It's a beautiful book to be able to say, just if you want to read some inspirational stories before you go to bed. You know, most of the stories are like 8 to 9 pages long, maybe 10 or 12 pages long, the longest. And you know, it's just a beautiful, inspiring. You can read the story tonight, you know, that's beautiful and inspiring, you know, how someone went through some big changes in their lives, how they did it, the inspiring end of it, the outcomes, you know, all of that side of things. What a beautiful mind space to be in before you put your head down on the pillow and go to sleep. So, you know, that's one of the really good things I loved about the book too, because it's all these stories, and you can relate to some and not others, you know.
Yeah.
But that's perfect in itself as well.
Well, I kind of like anthologies because, you know, they're like little short stories. So you kind of make it a task, right? How many authors is there? There's 12 authors. There's 12 days.
Wow.
My little bedtime story before I go to bed. You know, and at the end of those 12 days, on the 13th day, you say, what did I learn from those 12 authors? How did it resonate with me? Some might resonate with others more than, you know, like you said, like some chapters might be like, oh, that's not for me. And other ones might be like, oh, that kind of just made me look back and slow down.
Yeah.
Your story might be that story that needs to have somebody slow down.
Yeah.
And that's what I really like about anthologies, is you get that different flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have just that one singular flow. You have the multiple flows coming. So you do that. Like this book, it's #1 bestseller in 6 countries. You do that for 12 days. 12 days, guys. You could read this book.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 13th day, you can reach out to Paul and you can say, Paul, this is what you know, and have that conversation and that communication, you know, because I think that's what we really need to start doing is with all these incredible anthologies, is take the time to read the chapters and then reach out to the authors and say, why did you write that chapter?
Mm-hmm.
And how did that chapter change your life? Because it did change your life, Paul.
Immensely.
It slowed you down. You're not that Energizer bunny anymore.
Correct.
You know, you're that surfer.
Universal surfer. you know, it's interesting you talk about that going, you know, full circle, because we learn and then we stop and we think about, you know, and then we learn some more and then we stop and think about, you know, there's so much information that we're bombarded with every day, and life is so fast paced. But we come in with nothing and we leave with nothing, you know. So this mass of trying to do all the time, it's important. It's part of the experience. It's part of the manifestation. But we keep forgetting about the being. The being is just as equally, if not in some cases more important, because when we have that being, so we take the example of the book and the pause, you know, you read the information, what can I take from it? I'd love to hear, you know, when people read the book, their stories and what they get out of it. But that's the piece about you that's the being. You learn, and then when you learn, you can actually move forward in a clearer way, you know, literally more focused way. You don't bounce around like a pinball. You're clear. You do what you need to do. You know, it's in many cases more efficient. But if you didn't be, and you're doing all the time, you'd probably bounce around and not be as efficient. So you actually miss out on a whole lot of things. You're wiser and you still get the work done, if you know what I mean. And that's the power in the being. We really can start to become self-aware of how incredible we are and the connectedness. And, and that's again where we tend to be our own worst judge of ourselves. We can be very judgmental of ourselves, far more than we are of other people. How does that work for you? It just makes you feel bad, lowers your, reduces your aura, your energy, your vibration, all of that. It's not conducive to the expansion of feeling better, all the rest of it. So, again, like last night as a perfect example, I managed to convince my parents to turn the TV off, one might say, so they weren't flooded with the negativity of the mass media. And we watched these incredible movies that I have called wisdom films. And they're just 7-minute videos of beautiful nature from a friend of mine, Gary Malkin. And there's wisdom passages written by Thich Nhat Hanh, Bob Proctor, various Deepak Chopra, and you're watching this beautiful nature while you're listening to these wisdom passages. And we just have a choice. You can choose and listen to the negativity of the mass media, or you can choose to listen to inspiring, positive things. You need to know what's happening in the world, so don't bury your head, so to speak, in the sand. But why subject yourself to that all the time when you can have beautiful, powerful, inspiring information to be able to enjoy the planet and hear something that's expanding at the same time and encouraging, and I know my mum, when she came to bed last night, she gave me a big hug and she said, thank you so much, because it inspired her. Normally it's, good night, and that's it. But instead she was full of energy and she loved it. And she said, we got to do it again tonight, so while I'm here with them for a short time, so that's the plan for tonight as well. It's the point here is we get to make a choice in any moment. Live in the right now. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Live in this beautiful moment you and I have right now, Liz. And what choice can I make that's the best choice?
Well, it's like I said at the beginning of the show, right? This moment is not going to ever happen again. Mm-hmm. We're not going to have this same conversation ever again.
Yeah.
We might have a conversation, but we won't have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Each conversation will be different. We have a comment here. It's more of a comment, not a question. But as we're talking about the circle, you're talking about the clock of time, the clock of the universe. Mm-hmm. So when you look at time travel and you look at the universe and dimension, all of the things that you've gone through, all the travel in the world, Paul, mm-hmm. do you look at it as a clock?
Actually, I think that's a really interesting question. I've never honestly really looked at it as such based on the wording of the question or the comment. Again, time is linear in this third dimensional realm that we're in, but it's not linear in other realms, higher realms. We can experience things, but we're not tied to, you and I can't jump forward or jump backwards. But in other higher realms, you can. You can still go through an experience or a creation. You can co-create. You can manifest. You can one would say build constructs. You can create and question and interact with higher planes, gain knowledge, gain wisdom. And that moment, one could say, is some aspects linear, but you can move anywhere you want. So it's like in your chess game, you've got to move forward in a linear fashion, whereas in the other aspects, you can go to 2/3 way through the game. You can jump back to the beginning. You can move around, but then you can examine each move and why that move was done, so to speak. So the movement on the earth in my life, coming back to the original sort of comment, honestly, for me, as best I can, and I'm still working on this, believe me, not worrying too much about the past or the future and really living in the moment as best possible. And so that tends to take that time piece out a little bit. For me, it's being grateful. I look back at earlier parts of my life, some incredible relationships, experiences, and just be in a place of complete gratitude for those experiences, those relationships, what I learned, and what was shared, and just be in that beautiful lightness of, what it was, and the growth that happened because of it. And I think that in doing that, I'm unburdened in the moment. If we take a different hypothetical example, when we're frustrated with some other person or in anguish about some past relationship, all it does is create a burden on our shoulders. But when you can go through, say, life together with a person and have nothing but love and respect for what the experiences were, what you got out of it, what you learned, and theory also what they got out of it, what they learned, and then you move on, but wish nothing but the best, still be great friends, that friendship just continues to grow. It's just maybe not intimate anymore, so to speak, but then it's so expanding and enlivening, because then you can do that, and then so that we go through life and just have beautiful experiences, because that's what it's all about. It's about learning and experiencing. So to me, that's the part that's important to us. Have mostly a commitment to yourself, but then a commitment to your partner if you're in a relationship, completely committed, and just allow, learn, expand, grow. I kind of make this little joke, souls, the earth is a schoolhouse for the soul. So, we come down here to have experiences. There's duality, polarity, there's happy, sad, good, bad. So we get this wide vibrational range of experiences. And then if you want to really accelerate that, then you get drawn to have a relationship, because that person will reflect back at you mostly that which you need to work on yourself, And so then that's kind of almost like the snakes and ladders game, where you have a relationship and you like on the ladder, you're accelerating, but
and then all of a sudden
usually it's in a form of conflict in some way where you trigger each other. But if you can handle it appropriately, you learn and you grow from that, and you become a better partner for that person, and you just love them more and love life more and appreciate, yourself and them so much more and everything around you. So that really is the latter part, So
So do you like snakes and ladders, Paul?
I don't think I've played snakes and ladders. I don't know, 40 years or so.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Like but that was a cool game because it taught you things in life as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would go up and then you would have to fall down, but you don't give up. You keep continuing on till you get to the end of the game. I think that's what it taught me as a little girl is, okay, I'm going to climb the ladder, but then I'm going to slide down the snake. I'm going to climb up the ladder, going to come down. And that's kind of what life is, right? It takes us up, brings us down.
And I love the fact that the universe works in replications. There's so many things that are replicated. They're completely different, but you can see the patterns replicated. So when you look at snakes and ladders, you've got a super simple game that you can relate to as a kid. But as you just highlighted, Liz, beautifully, that can relate to life.
Yeah.
And then if you want to take it to that next level, excuse me, you can have a scenario where you start to talk about, the grander aspect of consciousness and the universe, where you've now got laws like karma, and so whenever there's cause and effect, and that impacts us in our human life as well. So as we do good things, so we receive good back. As we do, one would say, bad things, we receive bad back. It comes back at us. The subtle difference when you get to the universal level is that you can be doing something in one lifetime, if people believe in multiple lifetimes, and you actually have the effect, the cause in that lifetime. You can have an effect in a different lifetime. So it's a little hard for us in our consciousness, in, say, our humanness, to put the two pieces together. But that's the part I love, as you do expand beyond this linear timeline, you understand the other aspects of yourself, your other lifetimes, the ramifications, what happened, what we were working on, and the ramifications in this lifetime. I know what happened in earlier lifetimes with me and how it's affected me in this lifetime now, working on myself to give me the gifts that I have now as an example that I can utilize in this lifetime, and what I need to do to get better in this lifetime so that it helps in future lifetimes, if you know what I mean. So there's that piece. And then if you take another twist on that, when we transition, no one dies, you just transition. The consciousness just moves out of the physical, and the physical, another universal law, matter, or everything has consciousness. If consciousness holds stuff together, but matter will fall apart. So the law of randomness, and and if you take our physical body, you add consciousness to it, the cells grow, multiply, and we create a human being, and we have it there. And then when the consciousness leaves, it just all falls apart, so to speak. So it's the same with everything, even crystal, stones, houses, everything, all has consciousness. And that's what holds it together. But, when we're in that space and we have that awareness, we can, sorry, I just lost the point that I was actually trying to share about the consciousness.
It's gonna flow by.
It'll come back.
It'll flow. Not a snake. I just love how a childhood game that we both played as children can also bring awareness and education of the universe and the consciousness and karma, because when you do good, you climb the ladder. When you do bad, the karma, the snake takes you right back down, right? So you use this board game to use it to educate the consciousness of how we make our choices and what we do. Because like you said at the beginning of the show, we have a choice. Do you want to do this or do you want to do that, right? It's the path, the left or the right, or do you stay in the middle and then you stay comfortable, but you never go outside of that box. You never go outside of that line to see where else you could go, where else you could travel to. And it comes right back to what you did as a child, growing up, the travel, the school of travel, the school of the soul, the school of the consciousness, it all comes together and it flows nice. It's like a board game, right? Let's just make a good old kids board game. Snakes and ladders. Who knew, right?
We could have a whole tea-time conversation about snakes and ladders. Bring it on.
Right? I could even play snakes and ladders.
Yeah. And that little piece came back to me. When we transition, we get to have a review of our life, and we get to experience our entire life through our own experience and review that. And then the more important piece is we get to experience our life through other people's eyes. So if we're nice to someone, I get to experience the niceness that I gave to them. If I'm horrible to someone, I get to experience the pain and anguish and agony that I put on that person. So that's really where you start to learn in that piece. So again, that's another piece of the snakes and ladders, the karma, the cause and effect. And so there's life is a wonderful adventure. Bring it on.
Absolutely. Paul, I want to get into your tea. I want to get into the 3 words that you gave me. Why do you give me those 3 words for?
Okay, so the first word, thoughtful. I'm just going to read out the dictionary definition. Thoughtful, absorbed in thought, meditative, characterized by careful reasoned thinking, heedful anticipation of the needs and wants of others. So that's thoughtful. I really feel, the single most biggest gift we have is our consciousness. And to be able to take time to tap into that, it's all, life begins on the edge of your comfort zone, as Neil Donald Walsh said at some point. If we can think, we can contemplate, we can grow, we can become wise, we can be inspired. And that's where the meditation piece can enhance that enormously. And then the next word, evolution, a process of continuous change from a lower vibration, simpler or less evolved form to a higher vibration, more divine loving, higher consciousness, more aware and more capable, a better state of who we are, mind, body, soul, as a humanity. So I kind of just used the evolution humanity piece because it was most relevant. But, again, my whole purpose in this life, especially now, is about becoming more aware, and the evolution of myself and the evolution of my clients or anyone literally that comes in my path. So, but the person has to want to be evolving. I never push anything upon anyone, but I think it's that's when you start to expand your consciousness, you find that the more you become aware of the universe, the more you want to be in service. It really is about, the whole thing is about being in service. It's about working on myself and then helping anyone and everyone that wants the help, that comes forward for the help. Becomes the most important piece, really, out of everything. And then the third word, altruistic, demonstrating selfless concern for the well-being of others, often driven by spiritual or moral values. So that ties in with what I just said. You want to be in service, being altruistic. I want to help people no matter what. And, it's because when you understand everything's connected, as I help others, I'm actually helping myself. We realize the pluses, we realize the flaws, but as I work on myself, I embody the greatness and I help others to embody the greatness. And so the greatness becomes larger. The flaws, one might say, become less. So, as I embody good and I help others to embody good, the good becomes better. Good, by the way, and bad is just relevant to here on this plane. In the greater universe, it really isn't good or bad, it just is. But it's still moving to a higher level of evolution so that we're becoming a higher level, higher consciousness, higher vibration, more expanded. So, so that's kind of the answers to that question. And I think that sums up really where I'm at in my life at this point in time, because I'm very blessed that I can have some time to learn, read. I'm reading a whole lot of books now from Alice Bailey, and it's just, this journey is about learning. It's about expanding, and as we shift our awareness and as we learn and expand, we have a completely different experience of the same physical experience, if you know what I mean. So you can take a cup of tea and you can just pour it and gobble it down because you're in a hurry, and that was a cup of tea. Yeah. Or you can do, one would say, as a sort of a Tibetan monk might do, so to speak, you have your cup of tea, you honor the cup, you change the vibration of the cup, you honor the water, you change the vibration of the water, as Masaru Emoto can very clearly explain. You change all the crystalline properties of the water, and then you can pour the tea in, and while you're pouring the tea in, you put the tea bag in, you can just give it so much love. And we all know, if you do like a blindfold test and someone just slaps a cup of tea together, and a different person uses the same tea bag, the same water from the same kettle in a similar cup, and they make it with love, and then you have the 2 cups of tea, you would think they're the same, but they do not. They do not taste the same. They feel different. They taste different. You can feel the love. And that's the difference. And that's what I encourage all of my clients, the people, that come into my life, as we change who we are, we have a profoundly beautiful experience. As you sense beyond the physical as well, a rain shower doesn't just become, one would say, an annoying rain shower or a rain. Instead, you can just be there. You can take the same 15 seconds, but in those 15 seconds, you can take in the smell of the air, the density of the air, the freshness of the air. Watch the auras of the plants as they auras expand because the life force coming in from the water, and just experience this profound enlivening as Mother Nature is nothing but grateful for the water that the plants that are receiving in that moment to expand who they are, especially if they haven't had water for a while, and it's the first rain shower. So that whole experience becomes profoundly beautiful, like an exquisite, glass of wine.
Yeah.
And you get to enjoy it, but it's still the same rain shower. Another person would just go, it's raining, and walk back in and get on with whatever they need to do.
Right? Oh, it's raining again.
Yeah.
And I really like how you did that, Paul, because for the listeners and viewers that watch Teatime, it's the cup within that we're serving at this table. It's the flavor and purpose and service that you bring to the table. It's why you make a choice to serve the way you serve, why you write the way you write, why the way you teach, you educate. We all have different ways and flavors and blends in the world. And I love the way that you said that, Paul, because it is. I could have people come and sit at this table and say, well, this is my tea, da 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 da, and not understand the tea at all. Where you came and you shared the tea and you said, if you add that extra little love, even if you're blindfolded, you're going to know what cup had that extra love. It's just like when you go to grandma's house and she makes you these cookies, and you go to your aunt's house and she makes cookies. Well, there's nothing like grandma's cookies. Like, yes, auntie made it with love too, but there's the different flows of love, the different flows of how they mixed that batter together, how they cooked it, the time, the oven, all of the things all together join as one.
Yeah.
And going back to the clock comment that the viewer left here, is everything goes back as a clock. It goes in that circle. And we talked about that circle in the beginning, right? It's the full circle of life. And that's what the clock is. The clock is a circle. It's the circle of life, the time of life. Time is precious. Live in the moment, like you said, Paul. But I want to get into, we're almost at the end here. I want to get to the title of the book, Soul Love. And you talked about the love and the connection and that. So how did you come up with that name for your book?
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't. I have a very dear friend in the Netherlands, bless her heart, and she has a podcast and a podcast called Soul Love, and she wanted to create this book. And so she came up with the name Soul Love, and she was talking to me about, she'd love if I could, be part of the book with her. And then, as part of the publishing arrangement, we just ended up with more authors as part of that book, which I'm so glad that there is, because it creates a greater variety of stories that people can relate to. So I wish I could take the credit for that, but I can't, because, Kim, it was, she is a very soulful person and a very loving person in her own essence of who she is, the flower of life, the work that she does. So that's where that comes in. But I want to emphasize to the audience that we can spend so much time in our physical ego mind part, especially the world we live in, this masculine model. And I'm so excited about the shift to the divine feminine model and the flow. And so as we do that, we can come out of the mind and allow our soul to guide us more. We are mind, body, soul. So if we ignore the soul part, we're missing a third of who we are. So it's really important, I think, to include more of the soul piece, the soul love. We get to enjoy those moments, those stories that are soulful. And I encourage you, the audience, to take more time to explore, connect with your soul essence. Let it guide you. That makes the difference.
So, Paul, before we wrap up, do you have any workshops coming up? Where can people get your book? All of that good stuff. Where can they find you?
Well, as I said, the beautiful thing is the book's available on Amazon. So the easiest way to do all of that, find me. I have a website. It's Paul, Paul, Marwood, Marwood.com. So paulmarwood.com. It's as simple as that. In my website, there's links to be able to buy the book as well. You can buy it in all sorts of countries. The links are all there for Australia, United States, Canada, Japan, Germany, so there's all of that. And I encourage you, go and grab the book. The profits of the book, 100% of the profits of the book all go to a charity. Just Dig It. So it's helping about greening Africa. So it is, you know, the money goes to a good cause as well, even though the book is very inexpensive to purchase. And so, yeah, and from the website, you can just learn a little bit more about me, and please reach out. You know, you can book a complimentary, 30-minute conversation, and we can have a conversation like you and I here today, you know, Liz, and just people can ask me questions. I'm here in service. I can help in whatever I can in that moment. And if it feels good, you know, maybe we can do some more work together. But, you know, that's the best way to contact me.
Well, go ahead, Paul.
And things coming up at this point in time, I'm just putting a whole lot of programs together, so I don't have anything specifically on that site. So creating apps for the Solution Meditations, but there are, as I say, there's a whole membership areas of multiple levels of these meditations, these Solution Meditations, which they're guided. Most of us think meditations are, I can't do it. How do I empty my mind? Well, you don't have to. It's actually about focusing your mind. And the beautiful thing about these guided meditations is that you can spend a beautiful 15 minutes feeling happy, feeling connected, feeling peaceful at the end of it. And you're solving problems in your life, because that's why they're called Solution Meditations. They help you solve problems. So you're getting a double. You know, we try and do two things at once, or we multitask to try and get more stuff done in the same time. Well, this is one of those examples, because you get to have a cool meditation and you get to solve problems in your life. That's really amazing.
You know, you just took me back to class again. I don't know why I'm going back to my childhood tonight, but when you said problem solving, you know, when you had your math class and the teacher always gave you a problem solve, right? And all you heard in the classroom was, oh, right?
Oh no!
And that's what I just had this feeling of, you know,
Yeah.
because that's what you do with your work, Paul, is you just make people feel light. They take the stress off, just let it out. Just let the flow go. I don't know why that came to my mind, but as you said, problem solving, I could see myself sitting in a class and seeing all of my co-classmates just
you know, the thing I love about that is life doesn't have to be hard, and especially when we feel stuck. And as you know, the feeling, that big sigh of relief, you know, when you have the problem solved, it's like life can be easy. And when we feel stuck and when we have those problems, we tend to just worry about it and mull over trying to solve the problems and go into our lack of this, lack of that, can't do this, can't do that. But instead, you can move the meditations to this higher level of your consciousness easily, because I guide you, and you create and manifest and solve things, and you get the moment all the time. I love that. Well said, Liz.
Well, it's just like the meditation, right? When you're breathing in and out, you're releasing it. And you know, when you hear the word problem, you're thinking, oh no, I can't do this. Let me get out of here. Like, you know, but it's also a way of settling ourselves and taking that moment of just that, we can find a solution. And that's what I got from you, is the solution is in the, you know, and I don't know why I had that. The snakes and ladders, I guess it just took me on a journey to clock the time. I'm in Alice in Wonderland tonight. Like, I just feel like I just love really deep, open conversations about the universe and the mind and consciousness and that, because we don't talk about it enough. It's almost like we're guarded to talk about things that make us feel good. So, Paul, what final message do you have for everybody out there?
The final message is it's choice. Everything is about choice. It really is simple. You know, someone will say, I can't, I don't have choice. I've got to go to work. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Actually, no, you are choosing to do each and every one. No one is grabbing your arm and ripping it behind your back and forcing you to do anything. Yes, we have responsibilities. Yes, we go through life, but everything is a choice. So take the time out to just think about that for a minute. We choose. And then when we start to get it, we realize literally how simple life is, because we just make a choice. The people that heal from cancer, make a choice, a different choice. People that excel in their business, make a different choice. People that are on the streets that suddenly become successful. Neil Donald Walsh is a great example of that. He made a different choice. Life handed him a set of cards that put him on the street, and then he made a different choice. Now he's lots of money, lives a beautiful life, his wife, everything. So it's just a choice. That's my key words to everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Paul. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I enjoyed the viewers and listeners that popped in with their questions and made us go down those different flows and surf the waves and all of that. Without all of you guys, we couldn't do this. We couldn't serve this different style of tea. And when we do tea, we serve from within. So keep serving your tea, keep being true to yourself, and keep making a difference. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning into Tea Time with Mrs. I will be back next Thursday, same time, same place, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. with 2 more TEAs. And stay tuned because there might be some surprises along the way. Until then, I wish you guys all a beautiful weekend and enjoy the moment. Take a moment for yourself. And thank you again for serving tea with me tonight, Paul.
Love and blessings to you, Liz, and everyone else.